Vice Consul Mr. Maxim Kozlov, respected Consul General Mr. Maxim Kozlov, Vice Consul Ms. Ekaterina Turina, and our distinguished guest for today, Dr. Natalia Gerasimova, and our esteemed colleagues and dear students. I welcome you all to this beautiful session of this guest lecture titled The Russian Icon, Theology in Form and a Transcultural Dialogue with Kalighat Painting. In the beginning, I would like to request our Dean Ma'am, Dr. Meenal Parikh, to kindly initiate this session.
Very good afternoon, dear students and all the dignitaries present from the consulate. Just to brief about this Department of Fine Arts and Design, that we started this at the Arts Acre campus, and then 3 years back, probably it was 3 years back, that we shifted to Sister Nivedita University. And this is a dream unit of our chancellor, because arts, music and design is something which is very close to him. And when we were having a conversation, they were like at awe looking at this auditorium. So just to give this insight, that of course this is one of the ways of giving back to the art and culture of Bengal, which is popular across. And you coming here, ma'am, and giving this insight specifically to our students, we are very, very grateful. So I would not take much time and request that ma'am please come and you can start the lecture if that is okay. Anything else? No? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, thank you, ma'am. So, as we know, today's lecture titled The Russian Icon, Theology in Form and a Transcultural Dialogue with Kalighat Painting, it invites us into a fascinating conversation between traditions, geographies, and visual languages. This theme beautifully reflects the power of art, not merely as an aesthetic expression, but as a vessel of theology, philosophy, identity, and cross-cultural dialogue. We are deeply honored to have with us our distinguished resource person, Dr. Natalia Gerasimova, an eminent historian specializing in Russian history and cultural studies. Dr. Gerasimova graduated with honors from the Chuvash State University and began her academic career at a research institute under the Council of Ministers of the Chuvash Republic. After completing postgraduate studies at the Moscow State University, she defended her PhD thesis on Zemstva institutions during the years of the First World War. Her research interests include the history of Russia, the culture of West Bengal, and the history of Kolkata. Dr. Gerasimova brings with her a wealth of scholarship and insight into Russian visual and theological traditions. Her academic contributions will significantly advance our understanding of Russian iconography within broader cultural and historical frameworks. And now I would request our respected Vice Chancellor, sir, our Dean, ma'am, to kindly come up on the stage, and also our respected guests. I would request you to felicitate our guests, sir. Yes, Okay. I now humbly invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to deliver his welcome address. Sir.
Good afternoon, and respected Consul General, Vice Consulate General, and Dr. Natalia. I'm not sure, is this your first time in Kolkata? Second time. So, you know that in India, for painting or any kind of fine arts, it says like conventionally that if you want to be famous or all this, it has to be recognized from Kolkata. So, and Kolkata, like, I think we have a special DNA, and that's why being a Bengali, I feel proud of it. And the topics while I was watching, so, and the topics that what you are going to, so it's so exciting. And I'm going to listen for a few minutes because although I'm on a very hectic schedule today, but wish you all good luck. I think this is a beautiful, and thanks to the school that organized such a wonderful topic and very contemporary. I think our students will greatly benefit out of that. Thank you. Wish you good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your motivating address. So now, without any further delay, I invite Dr. Gerasimova to deliver a lecture on today's topic. Ma'am, we are truly privileged to have you with us today, and we eagerly look forward to your insights on this compelling subject. So the stage is all yours now.
Thank you very much. Dear students, dear colleagues, dear friends, today we will speak about the Russian icon. It's not only a work of art, but it is a theology in visual form. I hope this lecture will be not only as academic exploration, but also invitation to dialogue between past and present, West and East. Let us start. The Russian icon, Theology in Form and Transcultural Dialogue with Kalighat Painting. This lecture, I examine the Russian icon as a structural and theological and aesthetic system rather than merely a devotional image, tracing the development of Russian icon painting from its Byzantine origins through its 15th century maturations, culminating in the work of Andrei Rublev's Trinity. The lecture explores the iconographic canon, materials and techniques, and role of the Russian icon in Russian life, and the architectural theology of the iconostasis. The final section proposes an indirect cross-cultural resonance between Russian icon painting, Russian Lubok prints, and 20th century avant-garde practice and 19th century Kalighat painting in Bengal, demonstrating shared structural principles of visual reduction and symbolic clarity. The Russian icon, not an image, but a vision. Dear friends, let me begin with the question, When you hear the word icon, what do you imagine? A religious picture, a medieval artifact, a museum exhibit. What if I told you that an icon is not meant to represent reality, but to transform it? To understand this transformation, we must first clarify the fundamental difference between icon painter and the Western European artist of the Renaissance and early modern period. The icon painter and the Western European artist, a difference of approach. The icon painter and Western European artist painting is quite approach are quite different. From 15th century onward, Western painting developed toward affirming the human gaze as the organizing center of space. Artists studied anatomy, mastered linear perspective, and sought to convey emotional drama with increasing naturalism. Gradually, the painter became an author, an individual whose personality and originality were valued and emphasized. The icon painter operates differently. He does not create an image in modern sense. He writes an icon. What is? He transmits what he has been received. His task is not to express a personal vision, but to become transparent to tradition. If the Western artist strives for originality, the icon painter strives for fidelity. If the Western master asserts his name, the icon painter often remains anonymous. This difference does not imply an absence of artistic mastery. On the contrary, it presupposes the highest form of discipline. What has happened? Huh? They count? А я думаю, что у меня так все это шатается? I think everything is okay.
This day will remain memorable for all of us.
Don't worry, Russian icon protects us. you see? It's a very famous icon of Christ of Pantocrator, who is savior and protector. Shall I continue? The Russian icon, therefore, occupies a distinctive position within visual culture. Unlike Western painting since the Renaissance, which privileged illusionistic depth, anatomical naturalism, and individual expression, the icon operates within fundamentally different conception. It does not imitate visible reality. Its function is transformative rather than representational. Linear perspective, next one. Establishes a stable viewing point from which space recedes toward a vanishing point. By contrast, the icon frequently employs reverse perspective, in which spatial lines subtly diverge toward the viewer. Rather than inviting entry into illusion, the icon suggests that sacred presence approaches the beholder. Thus, the icon renders events not in historical chronology, but in sacred time. It makes eternal presence visible. Its visual language is inseparable from the theological intention. So you can see, this is display, this slide display. Which perspective? Linear perspective? Hello. Here you this slide demonstrates Western view with linear perspective, and this one you can see how image moves toward beholder in Russian icon. The spiritual preparation for the icon painter. Because the icon participates in sacred reality, the condition of its maker was considered essential. In traditional culture, the icon painter was expected not only to possess technical skills, but also to cultivate a spiritual life. Before beginning work, the master might fast, pray, confess, and receive communion. Icon painting was understood as a spiritual labor. This fundamentally distinguishes the icon from work created solely for aesthetic purposes. An icon is a result not only of the skill of the hand, but of the disposition of the spirit. Byzantine origins and Russian transformation. The first icon appeared in Russian Rus after baptism of Prince Vladimir and his retinue in year 988. It is fascinating to remember that before Christianity, Rus was a pagan land with the complex of pantheon of God. The ancient Slavs worshipped numerous deities. Perun, the god of thunder, Veles, the protector of cattle, Dachborg, the god of sun, Striborg, the god of wind, and Mokosh, the goddess of fertility. When Rus was baptized, the pagan idols were thrown into the river, and across the land began the construction of Christian churches. The interiors were soon adorned with the first icons, some brought by Russian princes from Byzantium, others created by Byzantine masters who were invited to Rus. Through the adoption of Byzantine Christianity, Rus entered a highly developed visual and liturgical tradition. Early Russian icons followed Byzantine prototypes. Elongated figures, gold backgrounds symbolizing divine light, and hieratic frontal poses. Over time, however, Russian iconography developed distinctive characteristics, Compared to Byzantine austerity and imperial monumentality, Russian icons gradually exhibited a greater lyricism. The severity of Byzantine imagery softened into the spiritual harmony. This transformation reached its height in 15th century. Just a minute. Sorry. Often regarded as the golden age of Russian icon painting. During this period, several regional schools formed. This slide focuses on different kinds of patterns of painting. Here you can see Novgorod school painting with Archangel Michael, this famous. This one is typical example of Pskov iconography, and this one, this Moscow saints, is Saint Boris and Saint Gleb. This is Moscow school. Of course, in this period we have many schools, but it's the most important schools. Let us shortly describe them. The Novgorod school emphasized bright color contour, laconic composition, and decorative state. The Novgorod school emphasized bright color, clear contour, laconic composition, and decorative state. Pskov school, you can see here examples of Pskov school, displayed expressive intensity, tense linear rhymes, and ascetic spiritual drama. And next one is Moscow, famous Moscow school. The Moscow school achieved harmony, softness, fluid line, and theological balance. The work of Andrei Rublev is associated primarily with Moscow tradition, where strict canonical discipline and inner lyricism achieved remarkable synthesis. The purpose and ontology of the icon. The icon is not created primarily for aesthetic pleasure. Whereas the Western painting often seeks evoke admiration or emotional response, the icon functions as a mediator between earthly and divine realms. Its subject derived from sacred scripture, doctrinal formulations, and the lives of saints. In Orthodox theology, the icon is described as a window into divine reality. This description is not metaphorical, but ontological. The icon participates in liturgical life. It is venerated, kissed, incensed, and prayed before. The icon, therefore, cannot be understood solely as an object. It exists within ritual practice and theological meaning. The iconographic canon. Central to the icon is identity is iconographic canon. Developed across centuries, it regulated compositional schemes, gestures, proportions, chromatic symbolism, and regulated composition. Its purpose was doctrinal integrity. Deviation from established iconographic tradition was not interpreted as a stylistic innovation, but as a potential theological error. The iconographer did not invent images from imagination of life models. He transmitted visual theology received from tradition. Characteristic features include flatness rather than illusionistic depth, reverse perspective, hierarchical scaling, symbolic color usage, and timeless representation. The icon thus resists the historicizing impulse of Western naturalism. Materials and techniques as a theological metaphor. Traditionally, an icon was painted not on canvas, but on wooden panel. The wood was carefully prepared, seasoned, planed, and then covered with a layer of linen cloth. Over the cloth, artists applied several coats of special white primer called levkas, a kind of gesso made from chalk and animal glue. Levkas created a smooth, luminous surface on which colors could adhere and glow from within. Once the surface was ready, the artist, or more precisely, iconographer, would begin to draw the image. It is important to remember that iconographer did not paint in ordinary sense of word. In Russian, word used pisать икону, to write an icon, not paint, but write. This word reflects a sacred attitude. Icon is not merely painted, but written like a holy text. Every line, every gesture, every color is symbolic and filled with the meaning. The paints were made by mixing natural pigments with egg yolk and little water, technique known as the egg tempera. This method gave the icon its characteristic matte velvety finish and extraordinary durability. The color comes from earth itself. Ochre for yellow, cinnabar for red, lapis lazuli for blue, malachite for green, soot and charcoal for black. For the halos and the heavenly background, artists used gold leaf, called in Russian susala. Gold was not a sign of wealth or decoration. It symbolized divine light, a light that knows no shadow. When the icon was completed, it was covered with thin layer of protective varnish. Over time, the varnish darkened, maybe after 100 years, and colors of the icon would fade beneath it. To restore its brightness, painters sometimes renewed this icon by painting a new image over the old one. This process, repeated over centuries, led to the phenomenon known as the overwritten icon. In the 20th century, Russian restorers began to carefully clean these icons, removing centuries of darkened varnish and overpainting. Thanks to their patient work, many masterpieces regained their original brilliance, including Rublev Trinity, which after this restoration revealed an ethereal harmony, color, and light that had been hidden for 100 years. The icon in everyday life. Before I turn to the main focus of this lecture, Andrei Rublev's Trinity as a theology in form, I would like to say a few words about the place of the icon in the life of ordinary Russian person. Unlike many Western works of arts, icon was not confined to ecclesiastical spaces. They structured domestic life. For centuries, the icon has accompanied a person from birth to death. When child was born, so-called measure icon, you can see here, measure icon for child. On it were written the child name and date of birth and baptism, but it did not depict the child himself, if you see. It depicts saint who is a protective saint for this child. This icon was used during the sacrament of baptism and later served as a talisman, as I said, against misfortune or evil eye. From early childhood, children were taught to pray before the icon in the morning and in the evening. Every home had a beautiful corner or red corner, krasny угол, usually in the southeast corner of the main room, where the icon were placed. Upon entering the house, one always turn to the corner and make a sign of cross. Beautiful corner or red corner. Icon accompanied people through every major event of life. During meals, an icon stood on the table. At weddings, especially wedding icons, were used to bless the couple and later passed down as a family heirlooms. So parents should bless bride and groom with this family icon, wedding icon. Before traveling, people were blessed with a small travel icon, often depicting St. Nicholas or the Wonder Walker, the protector of travelers. Soldiers, before leaving for service, were given small wooden icons of St. George, St. Nicholas, or their guardian angel. During illness, an icon was placed beside the sick bed. And when a person died, an icon was placed in the hands or at the head of the bed. The major icon was placed in coffin so that soul would depart into the next world under divine protection. After death, the relatives of deceased would continue to pray before this icon in remembrance. Damaged icons were not discarded casually. They were buried or set afloat face up on water. Thus, from the cradle to the grave, icon was and remains an inseparable companion of Russian life. The Russian tsars and emperors also prayed before icons when making faithful decisions, before battles, military campaign, and etc. For example, it is said that the Ivan the Terrible prayed before Rublev Trinity before his campaign against Kazan. The rulers of Russia also took great care in decorating churches and commissioning icons from the most renowned masters. They adorned icons with precious covers, we called in Russian oklads, made of gold and silver, and inlaid with jewels such as rubies, emeralds, and pearls. Today, many of these ornate covers can be seen in Russian museums. For instance, in Armory Chamber of the Moscow Kremlin. The iconostasis is the architectural theology. This slide focuses on iconostasis primarily. The fully developed high iconostasis represented a uniquely Russian architectural phenomenon, composed of multiple tiers, patriarchals, prophetic, festal, dies, and local. We read iconostasis from top to the bottom, usually. The iconostas is not merely a partition, it's vertically organized model of salvation history. The upper tiers, the patriarchs and prophets, symbolize expectation. The middle tiers, the feasts, represents the incarnation and deeds of Christ. The Jesus row with Christ Pantocrator flanked by Virgin Mary and John the Baptist forms the theological center. The most important, if you see, this is center, theological center of Russian iconostasis. The local row established the connection with the specific worshiping community. Thus, the iconostasis organized space not only architecturally, but theologically. The iconostasis serves as a symbolic boundary between heaven and earth, transforming the church into icon of the world. It is not merely a partition, but an image of redeemed history. Andrei Rublev and the culmination of harmony. The 15th century's most significant figure is Andrei Rublev. He was monk. His icon of the Trinity, circa 1411, 1425, of course, he didn't paint this icon more than 14 years. We don't know, this is period. Represents the pinnacle of Russian iconographic achievement. Rublev's icon is formally based on Genesis 18, the episode traditionally known as the hospitality of Abraham. According to the biblical account, Abraham, seated at the entrance of his tent under the oak of Mamre, maybe you can see here, like tree, you can see here tree, another tree, oak of Mamre, tree. Image of tree, you can see. It's oak of Mamre, and welcomes three mysterious visitors. He offers them water, bread, and sacrificial calf. One of these visitors announced that the Sarah, wife of Abraham, despite her old age, she was 90 years old, will bear a son, Isaac. In early iconographic tradition, this scene was depicted narratively. Abraham and Sarah were shown serving the guests. Architectural and domestic details framed the event. The calf and tenant emphasized hospitality and temporality. Rublev radically transforms this narrative structure. He removes Abraham, Sarah, he eliminates secondary elements. He suppresses anecdotal detail. What remains is not story, but theological vision. The biblical episode becomes a typological revelation of the Holy Trinity. Rublev does not illustrate scripture, he interprets it dogmatically. Narrative yields to metaphysics. Dogma is rhythm and geometry. The doctrine of Trinity, one God in three persons, poses a visual paradox. Unity without fusion, distinction without division. Rublev resolves this compositionally. An invisible circle, if you see, unites the angels. A triangle stabilizes their relations. A vertical axis aligns descent and sacrifice. Negative space forms the contour of chalice. Beyond geometric structure, the rhythm of lines intensifies the circular movement. The folds of garment guide the gaze, and slightly inclined table opens towards the viewer. The thrones form a stable triangle. Rublev achieves extraordinary equilibrium. No figure dominates, no withdraws. Three figures form perfect balance without rigid symmetry. A rare achievement in world painting, of course. Eucharistic and chromatic theology. At the center stands a chalice containing the sacrificial calf head. In Genesis, it signifies hospitality. In Christian typology, it prefigures Christ's sacrifice. The Trinity surrounds sacrifice. Love is rendered as self-offering. Color operates symbolically. Blue signifies divine nature. Red suggests incarnate humanity and sacrifice. Green evokes life and renewal. Gold represents uncreated light. There is no horizon, only eternal presence. Color becomes theology. Communion and ontological love. The angel faces are serene and subtly differentiated. Their communion is not psychological drama, but ontological unity. Each exists in relation to the others. Harmony, not tension, defines the image. Rublev articulates relational unity without sentimentality. From icon to Lubok to Kalighat, the most maybe interesting part for you. In the early 20th century, Russian avant-garde artists sought new foundations for modern art. Rather than looking exclusively toward Paris and Western Europe, many turned toward native visual tradition. Among the most significant figures in this movement were Natalia Gerasimova and her husband Michael Larionov. Goncharova was deeply influenced by three sources: Russian icon painting, Russian Lubok prints, folk and peasant art. She did not approach this tradition as ethnographic curiosities or primitive survivals. Instead, she regarded them as a structurally powerful alternative to Renaissance Eligianism. Her religious compositions, including her circles of evangelists and Old Testament saints, clearly echo the icon tradition: frontal figures, flattened space, emphatic contour, symbolic color, and compositional clarity. Yet they are not copies, they are reinterpretations within a modern idiom. Together with Mikhail Larionov, Goncharova became a founder of Rayonism. In Russian we say Luchism, around 1912. Rayonism, Luchism. Rayonism was one of the earliest abstract movements in European modernism. It proposed that the true subject of painting was not objects themselves, but the rays of light that emanate from them and intersect in space. Instead of depicting forms, the artist should depict energetic trajectories, the dynamic crossing of luminous vectors. At first glance, this may appear radically distant from icon painting, yet structurally and unexpected continue to emerge. In the icon, gold does not represent physical light, but uncreated divine light. It is not illumination falling upon object, it is radiance issuing from sacred presence. The icon already privileges spiritual luminosity over material volume. Rayonism secularizes and radicalizes this idea. It transforms sacred radiance into modern energy. What is the icon appears as a metaphysical light becomes, in Rayonism, abstract dynamism. Thus, even in abstraction, one may detect a distant echo of icon logic. Light is essence, not as an optical effect. Lubok, avant-garde, and structural simplification. Maybe previous is better. Alongside icon painting, Russian artists of the avant-garde actively collected and studied Lubok. Popular woodcut and engraved prints that flourished in the 17th through 19th centuries. Lubok prints were inexpensive, widely circulated, and visually direct. They employed flat planes of color, bold contour, and narrative clarity. For Goncharova and Larionov, Lubok represented not naivety, but structural courage. It reflected Renaissance depth, it rejected Renaissance depth and privileged surface, sign and rhythm. It affirmed the power could emerge from simplification. In this context, the attraction of Kalighat painting becomes comprehensible. Kalighat and the recognition of parallel vision. When Russian avant-garde artists encountered Kalighat paintings from 19th century Bengal, they immediately perceived formal affinities. Kalighat works display strong, continuous contour lines, expensive flat color fields, minimal background, reduced modeling, direct gesture, and expressive economy. Like Lubok, Kalighat painting emerged within a popular urban environment and circulated through marketplaces. It was not cut art, it was not academic painting. It was immediate, bold, and visually declarative. Russian artists referred to Kalighat works as the Indian Lubok. This designation did not imply imitation or influence, of course, in direct historical sense. Rather, it recognized structural kinship. Across vast geographic and religious distances, artists arrived at similar solutions: flattening of space, primacy of contour, reduction of detail, symbolic rather naturalistic color, rejection of illusionistic depth. In both cases, Russia and Bengal, simplification intensified meaning. A museum is a meeting point. By remarkable turn of fate, both Andrei Rublev Trinity and largest collection of Kalighat painting in Russia were preserved within the same institutional space at State Tretyakov Gallery in Moscow. Thus, within a single museum, medieval Russian icon painting in 19th century Bengali Kalighat art coexisted. This coexistence was not the result of direct historical interaction. It was the outcome of modern collecting practices shaped by avant-garde sensibilities. Final reflection. Theology in form and the courage of vision. The title of this lecture may now sound differently: the Russian icon, theology in form and transcultural dialogue with Kalighat painting. The Russian icon is not theology illustrated. It is theology structured. It does not persuade, it orders. It does not dramatize, it harmonizes. It does not imitate the visible world. It reorients perception toward the invisible. From the baptism of Rus and inheritance of Byzantine vision through the disciplined canon and luminous mastery of tempera and gold, the sacred geometry of iconostasis, and finally the serene equilibrium of Rublev Trinity, we were seen a persistent idea. Form is not decoration, form is metaphysics. The circle of Rublev is not compositional elegance, it is unity without domination. The chalice is not narrative detail, it is love rendered as a structure. The gold background is not luxury, it is eternity made visible. And yet the story does not end in 15th century. When Russian artists of avant-garde turned toward icon and Lubok, they were not retreated into the past. They were searching for a language strong enough to withstand modernity. They discovered that flatness can be more radical than depth. The contour can be more powerful than illusion. That reduction can intensify meaning. And when they recognized similar structural clarity in Kalighat painting, bold line, condensed gesture, unapologetic surface, a silent dialogue emerged across continents. Not influence, not imitation, but resonance. Russia and Bengal, orthodoxy and urban popular art, medieval theology, and 19th century bazaar painting all converge around one shared intuition. An image gains power not from how much it describes, but from how clearly it's structured. Not exchange of motives, but recognition of visual intelligence. This is the true transcultural dialogue. Both the icon and Kalighat painting resist illusionism. Both privileges contour over depth. Both compress reality into sign. Both understand that clarity is trade. And perhaps this is why the icon remains urgent today. We live in a world saturated with images, infinite scrolling, dissolving. Images compete for attention. They shock, they distract, they multiply. The icon does something radically different. It slows, it stabilizes, it concentrates. It demands discipline from the maker and from the viewer. In that sense, the icon is not merely a medieval artifact. It is proposition for the future. So we return to the essential question: is the image an imitation of visible world or transformation of perception? The icon answers with harmony, Kalighat answers with line, the avant-garde answers with energy. But all of them, at the strongest, affirm the same principle. Vision precedes illusion. And perhaps that is the lasting message of theology in form, that clarity, structure, and relational balance are not only aesthetic values, they are existential ones. Thank you. Thank you for your attentive attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gerasimova, for your profoundly insightful and thought-provoking lecture. So I believe we can now move on to the question and answer session. I invite the audience to engage with our speaker with their questions or reflections. Please raise your hands and the mic will be brought to you. Okay.
Я буду отвечать по-русски, а вы перейдете по-английски.
Надеюсь, я смогу помочь. Меня до сих пор отпускает. Тогда по предложению, чтобы я успевала все сказать.
Я попробую.
А то я забуду.
আচ্ছা, কালীঘাট পেন্টিংয়ে এত লালের ব্যবহার নেই, যেটা হচ্ছে দেখলাম এর আইকনগুলোর কালারে অনেক লালের ব্যবহার আছে, এটা কেন?
Вообще не слышно вопрос.
Немного. Okay, I will tell you. Red is a very common color in Russian icon. Red is about royal and divine color, you know. Usually it's clothes of Mother of God, Bogorodice. We color with red color. And we have clothes, name is Omophor. Omophor is very famous. You can see here, I show you. Dark red color. It's divine color. Давайте я объясню икону.
So I will try to... Прием. Ага. Okay.
Наверное, это будет интересно, если я объясню иконы, которые здесь, и, может быть, даже Kalighat мы тоже с вами прокомментируем.
So I will try to explain what these icons means, and we will also try to give some details regarding Kalighat paintings. So for better visualization. This icon is very famous. I don't know if Maynak chose it on purpose for my poster. Do you know what's this icon about? I'm just very curious why he chose specifically this icon for this show. Because this icon is this is God's mother from the dawn. A renowned and well-respected icon. And this icon is considered to save and protect all the territory of Russia. Every icon has its own iconographic canon, yeah.
И эта икона называется или Уса по-гречески, или Богоматерь умиления. Когда, значит, Богоматерь press to the cheek of child, когда, значит, она прижимается.
А название как еще раз? Называется
Илиуса, это греческое.
So the name of this icon is Ilios. It's in the Greek language, and it means like when the God's mother she comes closer to with her cheek to the baby.
Иногда эту икону очень путают с иконой Богоматери Владимирской, да?
Sometimes it's been confused with icon of God's mother of Vladimir,
Потому что у Богоматери Владимир, как их отличать?
because how to separate them?
У них у ребенка видна только одна ножка,
So you can see only one leg of the kid,
а здесь видны все коленки.
and this you can see like all his legs, including in the knees.
Немножко истории этой иконы, почему она называется такая защитница России, потому что вы знаете, что Россия была под монголо-татарским завоеванием.
So why this icon is called like the God's Mother, the Protector? Because as you may know from history, Russia used to be under Mongol Tatar invasion and to be was occupied by Mongol Tatar.
И вот эту икону подарили князю Дмитрию Донскому перед битвой, самой важной, как бы одной из самых решающих битв, на Куликовском поле.
And there was one historic battle, which is called Kulikov battle, at the Kulikov field. So, and Dmitry Donskoy, the prince of Russia at that time, he was presented this icon just before this battle, like for protection.
И он победил монголов.
And he won in this battle.
Это символ victory.
So it's some kind of symbol of victory.
Вот это очень тоже известная икона.
This icon is also quite famous.
Эта икона называется Спаса. Спас неуркваторный in Russian. Это God not made by hand. Ну,
So this icon in Russian is called Spas Nerukotvorny, so which is it has a divine meaning, like it was not made by God.
И эта икона, как бы, она, как считается, не написанной, а как будто Иисус Христос принесли ему полотенце, и он промокнул свое лицо.
So it is considered that this painting was not written, was not like painted, but just like the God, like Jesus Christ was given the towel, he would just made like this, and this icon got created.
И в любой иконе, конечно, помимо красочного изображения, мы читаем также надписи. И вот здесь вот надпись «Иисус Христос».
And like any other icon, we always read what's written in the icon. So here you can see from both sides, on the left and to the right, there's written Jesus Christ, like Russian two letters.
Эта икона называется «Успение Богородицы», тоже известная икона. То есть Богородица лежит в гробу, и Иисус Христос держит ее душу.
So this icon is called Успение Богородицы. So the mission. So basically what you can see here, God's mother, she lies in the coffin, and right beside her there's Jesus Christ standing, and in his hands he's holding her soul.
Это икона Георгия Победоносного.
So this is the icon of Saint George, победоносец. Победить сейчас как это? Ну, Виктор, Victor, yeah, Saint George the Victor. So the one who brings victory.
Это прекрасный способ, и икона демонстрирует, как Иисус Христос поднимается из ада. Когда умер, он же поднимается в ад, как бы, и из ада он вытаскивает первого человека, Адама, за руку.
Okay, so this icon is from Pskov region, and it shows how Jesus Christ, he goes up right from the hell, and in his right hand he holds the first man, like he holds Adam, also taking him out of hell.
И вот эта икона, она историческая икона, чисто русская, это не византийских таких сюжетов нет. Это святые Борис и Глеб.
So this icon, it is just the Russian style. So like there is nothing like that in Byzantium kind of icons. So here you can see two saints, Boris and Gleb.
Это исторические фигуры, это сыновья князя Владимира, который крестил Русь.
These are historic figures. They were the sons of the Prince Vladimir who baptized Russia. Yeah.
И в чем здесь история? То есть они не были мученики, они были страстотерпцы.
Так, разница между мучеником и
Мученики, это которые за веру, в римские времена им говорили, или христианство,
Да.
или тебя мы убьем,
Ага.
и их сжигали, там отрубали им голову. А страстотерпцы, они как бы за те христианские ценности пострадали. И история такая, что Борис и Глеб, им сказали, что их брат их убьет. Начались княжеские усобицы. Но они сказали, это наш брат, мы его любим, мы не можем его убить. И они за вот эту любовь, свою как бы жертвенную братскую, пострадали, он их убил.
So the episode from history, so they were told that they're going to be killed by their brother. They didn't believe it because they loved him very much. And so they are known to be as sacrificers, like they sacrificed their love, themselves for their love for their brother. То есть вот они
Они тем самым, это то есть христианские ценности, ценность любви.
So within this story, we can see how they carried there one of the most main Christian virtues. So that's what is love for your loved ones. Yeah.
Это вот, здесь я хочу сказать, что эта икона Иисус Христос Пантократор.
Иисус, зачем?
Наверное, вам интересно, если вы будете в Москве и увидите знаменитые Спасскую башню.
So if you ever come to Moscow and you see the Spasskaya Tower with Spasskaya Gate,
То название происходит от этой иконы, потому что вот эта икона, она висит над этими воротами.
so the name Spasskaya comes from this icon because it's basically
Называется икона Спасской Рукотворной.
yeah, the name of the icon is Spас Нерукотворный, like icon, not handmade. Savor, yeah. And you can see it on this gate when you come to Moscow.
Ну, это наиболее почитаемый святой на Руси Николай Чудотворец.
So this is the most respected saint in Russia. His name is Saint Nicholas.
И он в руке держит Госпел.
And he holds the gospel in his hand.
И благословляет другую руку, правую руку.
So, and he gives blessing with his right hand.
Здесь мы видим архангела Гавриила.
This is Archangel Mikhail, and he's воины?
Со своим воинством.
And he's, oh my God, and he's warriors, soldiers. Может? We have one more question.
Thank you for a wonderful, very engaging lecture, first of all. And while listening, I was just wondering, these kind of depictions, for me, it's very similar to, the use of imagery and the depiction and the color itself is very similar to Indian Mughal miniature painting. So I thought that, they also use this kind of semi-precious stones, this kind of compositions, subjective perspectives. And whereas in a Kalighat painting, I feel it's more of a kind of a political satire and kind of social statements. that has come, which is maybe it's my observation. So, what your views on that? Thank you.
Может, вы поближе?
Искусством коллигата, оно является не тематической, да, то есть связь не прямая, а в том, что как они используют, работают с цветом, работают с...
Может, вы, да, вот микрофон? Как они, как они работают с цветом или свет? Как они работают с цветом или свет?
То есть сходство с линией, то есть линия, четкий силуэт, как бы вот это все.
So the link between these two styles is more about the lines, about the flatness of the surface, about the color, about technical aspects. The whole vision, how it is done. So that there is no perspective, like how you see it, like so the clean, how you see the flatness of the image. So there is some specific tradition to this art style that you can look at this and see specifically that it is Kalighat, or it is like icon. So they have specific of those. Do we have any other questions? Microphone.
আইকন পেইন্টিং লিটার্জিক্যাল অবজেক্ট আর কালীঘাট পেইন্টিং হচ্ছে কমার্শিয়াল অবজেক্ট, তো এই দুটোকে মানে এই দুটোর সেক্রেট স্ট্যাটাস কি সেম?
Kalighat — это больше коммерческое как бы, производство, да, то есть они продавались на продажу. Иконы, естественно, не на продажу. Поэтому какая здесь связь? Как мы можем говорить, что про связь? Ну, вот это вот.
Больше комментарий, чем вопрос.
Я еще раз подчеркиваю, что связь здесь, конечно, иконы никогда нельзя было продавать.
I would like to specify once again that icons were never made were never made for commercial purpose, so they were made just for art.
Художники в обычном смысле слова, которые не молятся, не постятся, то есть которые не монахи, они не могут создавать иконы.
And artists who do not proceed with religious rituals, who do not fast, who do not pray, they cannot be artists of the icons. So they are monks. The similarity is just in this technical aspect, how it is done. That's just like that.
Должно быть какое-то объемное. Не то, что в Калигхате нет же очень много объясняющих дополнительных фигур, как и выходит. То есть есть символ, и вы понимаете, о чем.
So it's only about how it is, the vision, how it is done. So you can see the main character, and you, just by looking at it, you understand, okay, this is Kalighat. So we take a look at the Kalighat painting. And we will compare it to the Russian picture. Russian lubok. Yes, some folk art. This lubok is called the cat from Kazan. It was quite famous among residents of like regular people, average people, where they lived. It has some satirical context to it, just like in the Kalighat painting, as you can see. Because here in Kalighat painting, You can see the Brahman person who is being mocked because he is considered to be as a saint, like, who I don't eat meat, I don't eat fish, I fast, but at the same time he eats a shrimp. So there is some kind of irony to it.
А дети как бы подшучивают над чиновником, который такой весь вальяжный, такой весь довольный, вкусно ест, там, сметанку и так далее. Как хорошо живет, народ над этим.
And in this Russian picture, there is a symbol of this cat represents like a public servant, like an official who has everything in his life, who has enough so that he can eat a lot, drink a lot, etc., etc. So he can please himself with whichever he wants to and enjoy his best life. Yes.
Anyone else?
Thank you for this engaging and wonderful lecture session. I have a question. That is, you mentioned Russian this Russian painting, this kind of paintings are quite similar to that of our Kalighat Pattachitra in terms of formalist measure, like composition, line color, the use of perspective and all. And sometimes they are quite similar if we consider the subject matters as well. But there are many other traditions all over the world and in India as well, where the use of color, perspective, lines are again similar. Then why Kalighat painting? Like, what is the reason that you have taken Kalighat painting to measure, to compare? Why not other schools? For example, Pingla Pattachitra, or maybe our miniature painting, miniature tradition.
Почему вы решили сравнить Калигат именно, а не какой-то другие стили?
Потому что, как я сказала уже, как бы вот этот мост, да, между Калигатом и русской иконой, он брошен не мной, он брошен в начале 20 века русскими авангардистами.
As I mentioned earlier, so this kind of link between Kalighat painting and Russian icons, it was not made by me. It was done long before in the 20th century by the Russian avant-gardist artists. Because they saw some common ground for their own art form in their avant-garde style. Well, they saw the strictness of these lines, and they saw some common things for their art. And as you know, that people, they are usually very smart, and they can see the shortest ways how to take something new for their new art forms, to express themselves through something which was already known, to create something new. А в каком городе это было? Нет, год в городе, в Москве. So in 1920 in Moscow, an exhibition was held by Larionov and Goncharova, which were mentioned earlier in the presentation today, and they included these Kalighat paintings in their exhibition because as it was like considered for many years that there is like lower art, can we say so? Folk art is considered to be like low kind of art, and there is high form of art. But even like Kalighat was considered, Kalighat рассматривался как низкий, да? And Kalighat was considered to be like a lower kind of art, but even regardless, they included this into their exhibition because they didn't think so. So they wanted to show that it is like the opposite. So it can be, so it is quite quality, good art of good quality, if I can say so.
Благодаря Ларионовой и Гончарову в Москве я была удивлена, что Виктория Альберт имеет 500 всего картин Каллигата, а у нас в Третьяковской галерее 800.
So, and Dr. Gerasimova says that she was really surprised that in Albert and Victoria Hall there was only like 500 paintings of Kalighat, but in Tretyakovsk Gallery in Russia there are 800 of those. Exactly from this collection of Goncharova and Illarionov. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So before we conclude this session officially, I would like to invite our guests once again on the stage to honor them with a little token of appreciation.
Can I say a few words? Just please accept my belated congratulations. It was 8th Foundation Day. Last week you had your celebration, so my belated congratulations and thank you so much for coming for the lecture of Dr. Gerasimova, who I'm very happy happens to be my better half. So yes, and you know it's beautiful hall and Archibolovo. Yes, also we brought some presents. You know, there's a calendar by Russian painter, art form. Yes, it's calendar also. একজন Russian শিল্পী Nika Safronov, খুব বিখ্যাত শিল্পী, মানে contemporary, মানে দিল্লিতে এবং মুম্বাইয়ে তার এক্সিবিশন হয়েছে, মানে গত মানে জানুয়ারি ফেব্রুয়ারিতে হয়েছে, খুব সুন্দর, খুব মানে একজন খুব বিখ্যাত, সেই জন্য আমরা মানে উপহার হিসেবে স্বরূপ দিতে চাই এবং আপনার অবশ্যই আচ্ছা এবং ভালো পড়াশোনা করুন, সুস্থ থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন, সমৃদ্ধ হন। Sorry. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. আশা করি যে মানে শেষের বার নয়, আসবো। আমন্ত্রণ পেলে অবশ্যই আসবো। এমনি তো
We have some little more token of appreciation for you all. Little bit of greens for you all.
So I would like to thank Dr. Natalia Gerasimova for such a wonderful session, such an engaging session, and such wonderful visuals that we usually do not come to see. I'm sure that this has been very much useful for my students who also came to know how to compare between two cultures, two different strains of paintings, and they could also read the differences and similarities between the two. On behalf of the Department of Fine Arts and Design, Sister Nivedita University, I would like to invite our Dr. Gerasimova and our revered guests many more times to Sister Nivedita University for more interactions, and thank you very much once again. Yeah.